Hey everyone, it's Terry with Terry's Tidbits. And yesterday we had the Des Moines, Iowa user group meeting, and I did a presentation on platform events, which are really cool, except for the fact that my demo didn't actually work the way that it was supposed to. So we spent a good chunk of time trying to debug and figure out why the heck did it not work. It's a little humorous if you find that kind of thing humorous, but we did get it to work. I have no idea what we did to get it to work, but if you're not familiar with platform events, they're super easy to set up for an admin, and hopefully the video does help you with understanding the process of how to go about doing these. Take a look at it. My apologies for the confusion on it not working on our first attempt, but life is fun and we have to just laugh at ourselves and have a good time. So enjoy the video. We'll see you later.
So thanks for coming today, everyone. We're going to do a super quick 5-minute announcements. I don't even think it will take that long. And then Terry's going to talk to us about platform events and flow. And I'm sure we will be done by 12:30 unless you all have a lot of questions. So onward. Hi, Terry and I are your hosts of the Des Moines User Group. If you have any need to connect with us, you can always just email us at the email at the bottom of the screen. And then Karen and Joseph are our leaders for the nonprofit group. I did not see them pop in, but if they are, feel free to unmute and say hello. Uh-oh, why did I go backwards? We'll just use the keyboard and not the mouse. Jerome and Sulab are our developer leaders as well. Last I knew, they were starting to kind of kick back up again post-COVID. So if you're a developer, be sure to get in contact with them. Our upcoming events, next month, we will have another lunch and learn on flow design techniques. Our topic for October is DevOps for admins. That will be our big hybrid meeting that we'll do in downtown Des Moines. And then in November, we'll have an error handling session on flow. And at some point in December, we will do our annual holiday mingle and jingle. So if you have requests for venues, please let me know. And then some other Salesforce opportunities would be, there's the customer success event calendar, is Trailhead events, there are Trailblazer sponsored mentorships, sorry. We have links to all of those here. We'll pause for a moment if you need to grab any of those. But also most of these things you can just Google and it will take you right to. So. Upcoming events on a national level, obviously Dreamforce coming right up. And then after that, several regional Dreamin' events, as well as I was pleased to see Higher Ed Dreaming. If you're in Higher Ed, that'd be a really fun one that's virtual. So that one would be interesting. And then those were the community ones I could find in the United States until January, when if you're tired of the Des Moines weather, go to Scottsdale, Arizona for Cactus Force. And then we have community hosted office hours for MVP office hours, as well as an automation hour. Those are on various Fridays, I do believe. If you don't know, we do have a Des Moines Trailblazer Slack channel. Feel free to join that. It's quiet most of the time, but if you want a speedy response, that's usually the best place to find me. If you've not yet, please take the user group survey. I think this is still open.
Probably. I don't think I did anything to close it. So
cool. So if you haven't done that yet, please do. And then if anyone has anything they want to give a shout out for, if you are hiring, if you're looking for a job, if you have a new certification, tried for a certification, anything like that. And just as a reminder, please take your Spring 23 maintenance modules if that is when you need to renew yours. Anybody want to shout out anything?
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sometimes I have issues with my audio, so just real quick, I was affected by the yellow layoffs, the closing, so still looking for work. I was a project manager there in customer service. So I've held different positions. But I'm looking. So if anybody hears of anything, please reach out. I would appreciate it. So thank you.
Tina, you said project management is what you do?
Yeah, that was my last position I held. I've held some other things, other roles too, but that was my last one. And then working with Salesforce within that role.
Perfect. Very good.
I attempted certification for the associate and admin over the past weekend. Passed both, surprisingly. Surprisingly on the admin part. The associate one I felt pretty good about when I was taking. And then, the admin one got a little bit dicey there. Mm-hmm. But luckily enough, I'm here, certified. Feels good.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Those are all the announcements I have. So with that, I will let Terry tell us all about platform events.
All right. Let me share my desktop. Did that share? Yeah.
Yep, perfect. You're good.
Awesome. So I've got some slides we're going to go through first, and then we'll get into the demo. But this is going to be about platform events and how we can leverage those as admins. And so let's go through the slides here real quick. What is a platform event, you might be asking yourself? Well, it's an event-driven messaging platform that connects publishers and subscribers. And so you're probably thinking, thanks, Terry, that's awesome. What the heck does that mean? Well, it's a little bit more English, maybe. It's a way to connect business processes within Salesforce. So think your automations that you would build in Salesforce with external sources through what they call an event channel or a real-time communication. So think of an integration where you would normally have to write a bunch of code in order to exchange information between two different systems. You can do that with significantly less code or almost no code, actually no code on the Salesforce side, if you choose to use platform events. So what I like about platform events, and I'll get more into this, and I probably should just follow my slides and not try to ad lib some of this. Oh, I do want to go back though and make one call out. This nice little pretty picture is from MindMax or MindMagic, the URL there at the bottom. I thought they did a nice job of kind of outlining or showing the different components that make up a platform event. You have the event itself. So the event is what's triggering something to occur, or the need for something to happen. That event then has a message that gets associated with it. Then you produce or publish the message. You have a channel that the message travels along or travels within. You have consumers that are listening for that message, and that event bus is kind of all a part of this whole thing. It'll make a little more sense, I think, as we look at some examples. So platform events, a use case for that might be the soda machine that we have in the office. It's running low on Diet Coke, which would be a real problem for me because I like Diet Coke. And so the soda machine will publish a message. The bottling distribution company, the distributor, subscribes to the messages from that machine, and it receives the notice that, hey, I am low on Diet Coke. It then can trigger an event within your Salesforce org that says, let's make sure we get an order of Diet Coke sent out to that particular machine. That would be for us Diet Coke lovers. Another one that you might have actually in your car that's doing this today is if you get in a car accident, if you've got one of those little SOS type devices within your car, that if you get in an accident, it automatically calls for help. Odds are that's being done through some form of a platform event. The event is the car crash. The message is send help, and it probably includes your location. And then emergency team obviously are listening for that and respond accordingly. Maybe something on the Salesforce side that's kind of unique, kind of more specific is, let's say the opportunity is closed won within Salesforce. When that occurs, we might need to be on the Salesforce side publishing the message, and the message could be picked up by our billing system that will then initiate the creation of an invoice. It could be picked up by fulfillment, which might be where it needs to initiate packaging, whatever the product is that was purchased. And it could also interface with a shipping system where maybe it prints off your shipping labels for you. All three of those external systems listening for the one published event of your invoice being, or your opportunity being closed won. A visitor to your website fills out a form. And when they hit submit on that form, Salesforce could be listening to that and then initiate the creation of data within Salesforce, or do whatever other maybe automations that you might need on the Salesforce side. So the concept with this, if you haven't quite figured that out, or if I haven't explained it quite well enough yet, with platform events, the concept is an event occurs, it publishes, or maybe think of it like a radio signal. It creates a signal that says, hey, I'm out here. And then you've got people maybe in their car listening to that, tuned into that station, and they then pick up whatever's being transmitted across that. That's in essence, in a super simple way of thinking about platform events. You've got a publisher and you have a subscriber, and they're in essence listening to each other and the messages that go between the two. Does that make sense? Sort of. If I've lost you, throw something at me in chat, and I'll see if I can't explain that a little bit better. But that's the concept.
I think it makes sense.
Okay, cool. So how's it different from traditional integrations? And the big difference is you can do this on the Salesforce side with no code. Now you can do code, but you don't have to. I think that there may be a play even internally within Salesforce. I've not thought through this last bullet point deeply, but from an architectural standpoint, what I like the concept of potentially, instead of us writing a record trigger flow that then goes off and does something else within Salesforce, whatever the automation might be. Sometimes those things can get really long and can trigger other things to occur. And so, if you've got a really complicated process, you could, in theory, use this publish subscribe to break that transaction up so that you're doing a little bit less as a record trigger flow, but you're publishing an event that some other transaction within Salesforce is then listening for, and then it picks it up and does it in its own process or its own transaction. When you're in a really complicated or large org where things are tightly interconnected, it might be an interesting play to try leveraging platform events for that model, just to break up the transactions and make them a little bit more efficient. So the first thing that we have to do is create a platform event. You go into Salesforce Setup, you search for platform events, and platform events in Salesforce looks just like it would if you were creating a new object in Salesforce. So you're going to be asked for a name and a label, and then it's going to ask you for the published behavior, and I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. But you simply hit save, and then you click on the new button to create your custom fields, just like you would if you're creating a brand new object. What you're creating here is the data that is going to be sent, or the data you're transmitting over to the publisher. So the field types that you can create are checkboxes, date or date time. You can have a number field, you can have text or text area, long fields. You'll notice that there's a lot of field types that are not available here. You don't see things like email. You don't see You don't see like a text area. There's a so it's limited in that sense, but these kind of cover the main things I think that most integrations would need. So that's step one. You will note that a platform event uses an extension of __e. So it's API name instead of __c, like you get when you create a custom object. It's going to be __e for a platform event. That publish behavior that you have to define, you've got two options. One is to publish after commit. The other is to publish immediately. And the after commit, when you think about when you hit that save button on a record, if you get an error or something happens and it doesn't save, then the transaction fails, and if you were doing a publish after commit, that transmission would never actually run through, because the publish after is waiting for the save to have a successful completion of the transaction of that save process. The publish immediately, it would publish a signal regardless of whether or not the transaction succeeded or failed. So an example there might be if you simply want to track the fact that somebody attempted to log into your org. Doesn't matter if they succeeded, it was an attempt. You might want to then leverage a publish immediately. Okay, so we got the event defined. Now we're ready to publish the event, and we can do that simply by adding a record into that platform event object that we created. It's really not any different than if you were creating a custom object and adding a new record into that platform event object. So that's the simple answer as far as how you create a platform event. The more complex answer is you can do that through an Apex trigger. And for those of you that have written triggers before, you'll notice that this language is pretty common. We're creating a cloud news trigger. That's just the name of the trigger on the cloud news __e object. So that's the actual platform event object name. To note, for those of you that do code, these only are available on after inserts. You can also do it through a Lightning Web Component or a component. You can then do it through a platform event triggered flow. That's what we're going to focus on since we are admins. We're going to talk more about that one. You can do it through Comet D or PubSub APIs. So there's a specific API that's available for this as well. That's the long answer. What you're here for is the fact that we can do this through flow, and I'm going to show you how we do that. We're going to build one out. But it's simply on your flow, you're going to add the create record element. You will see your platform event object in the list of objects available, and then you fill out the fields with the data that you need. Super easy. That's going to create the radio signal now that says, okay, subscribers, I just sent you something, come get it. Now, the subscriber side of it can also happen via Apex trigger. It can happen through a Lightning component. It can happen through an Aura component, Comet D sub API. And our favorite is then the platform event triggered flow. So this is the other type of, when you create a brand new flow, it's one of the 6 options that you have for the type of flow you can create. Most of us have probably ignored this piece of it, but this is what the platform event triggered flow would be. You simply come in and you choose your platform event, and it's going to point back to that platform event object that we created. Anytime a new record comes in, it triggers this flow to do whatever it is you tell that flow to do. Again, pretty simple process. And that's pub sub and how you would define and publish and subscribe to them. It's pretty straightforward. Advantages of this: it's scalable, secure, reliable notifications. Event messages can be encrypted. It's near real time. Some would argue that it is real time because it's happening as soon as that event's published. You can pick it up and run with it. There's no hard coding. You can have multiple listeners subscribe to that message. So that was the example where I gave when opportunities closed one. You might have your ERP system create an invoice. You might have a shipping label get created. You might have other systems, all of them listening and reacting in their own unique ways based off of that published event. That's pretty cool, because if we had to write integrations for all that, that would take forever to do. Some things just to be aware of: 10,000 published events per hour, 50,000 published events per rolling 24 hours. You can have 2,000 subscribers at any one time to your event. And then there is the concept of high volume platform events. Those are stored for 72 hours. So in other words, I'm broadcasting it and making it available for somebody to pick it up within a 72-hour window. A standard volume, it's out there for 24 hours. So again, it's just my event will be available for anybody to listen to for up to 24 hours. And then it magically disappears. All right, done with slides. Hopefully I've bored you to death there. We're ready to actually look at something more exciting. So let's go into Salesforce. And if you want to try this on your own, what I'm going to show you is the platform events basic trailhead. That's what I used to build this off of mostly. And so it's really a pretty straightforward one to do. Now, one difference that the trailhead does that I don't do in what I'm going to show you is it did it all through code. We're going to do it through Flow. I don't know why they didn't do it through Flow. They do talk to the fact that you can do it in Flow, but they didn't build it in Flow. Okay, so platform event. First thing we have to do is we have to create the platform event. And the one that we are going to use today is the order event, but it truly is like creating a new object. So if I come in here, I give it a label. We'll just call it my event. This is where you get to choose that publish behavior. So publish after commit means that the record is saved, everything worked, no interruptions. And then the publish immediately is as soon as something starts, we don't care whether or not it succeeded or failed, it's published immediately. You have your in deployment or in development or go ahead and deploy it. We'll save that. There's our name. You'll notice the __E. You have your standard fields like you would expect to see. I won't spend any time on replay ID. They do go into that in that flow training. But then creating your custom fields, those are your field options. And it's just not really any different than if you were creating custom fields on a regular object. Minus all of the assignments and all of that sort of thing. But the process, I think if you've been an admin and you've done this before, you'll say, yep, that looks familiar. I'm comfortable with this process. That's your platform event. Now we're going to spend time on this order event. And what this particular event is going to do is it's going to be based off of the orders object in Salesforce. And it has, on an order object, we have I believe it's a checkbox on the order object that indicates that the order has been shipped. It might be a status field, I forget. So we're going to create an event that when the order is flagged as shipped, it's going to insert a record in this object. And the way that we would simply do that is through a record trigger flow, just like what we've been teaching for the last probably couple of years now. It seems like record trigger flow is your easiest way to get into building flows. And so let's go do it. So I'm going to do a new flow. Record trigger flow. And the object I'm going to choose is going to be orders. And in this case, it's really going to only be on an update because you're not going to create an order that's immediately shipped. We're not going to anyway. We'll put a condition on here that says that I think it might be status. It is status. Status equals, it's not status. What did I call it? Hang on, let me figure out what I called it. It is fulfillment. Fulfillment status. Fulfillment status equals shipped. We only need to run it when that occurs. It's going to be an actions and related. It will not be something that you do on a fast field update. Always actions and related. We'll click done. And there's our initial flow. We're going to add a create record. We're going to create a single record. And in this case, we'll go ahead and just do it as separate resources and literals. Our object is the order event. Note the __ E shows up just like any other object. And your fields are your account ID, the has shipped. Probably would have made sense if I showed you the platform event that I actually created. But its name is object or order event, and it had 3 custom fields in it. The account ID, has shipped, which is a checkbox, and then the order number. And so we're going to populate those fields. The account ID is going to be just like what you would anticipate. It's $record, which is our order object. And the account ID field. The has shipped will be true. And our order number is also $record, our friend. Order number. Does that make sense? Everybody with me?
Yep.
Awesome. And with that, we'll simply save this. And this is a record trigger flow on the order object. So we'll call it and save. And we will then activate that particular flow. All right, so as soon as the order goes to shipped, it's going to trigger this flow. This flow is going to create the record in our platform event. So we have now published an event when this runs. Now, if we're publishing it, then we probably want something to be listening for it. And this is where my demo gets a little bit off here because I'm going to just do all of this in Salesforce. And I don't want to confuse you too much here, but most of the time, if you're going to publish something from Salesforce, you're probably publishing it for something external that's going to listen for it. or vice versa. Something external is creating the record in your platform event object. And then on the Salesforce side, you're listening for a new record to hit the platform event object, and then you're reacting to it. In our scenario, I'm going to actually create the listener also in Salesforce listening for this same platform event that just got created. What's goofy here is you might say, well, Terry, why not just add what you're trying to do right within the record trigger flow? And the answer is yes, you would do it that way. But because I don't have an external system to show that interaction, we're going to pretend that that's actually how this is running. So I'm going to go back to flow. I hate that when that you go back and that takes you out of Lightning. All right, flows. And so our new flow that we've never looked at before is this platform event triggered flow. We're going to create this flow, and it's asking us what's the platform event. And that's simply going to be that order event that we created. That's the custom object again. And we will click done. And now it's completely up to you. This is like any kind of other flow. You add whatever the actions are that you need to do. So in our case, I'm going to create a new task. And our related record in this case is the platform event. So if I need to relate this to another record, I will use the platform event. So $record, our friend, and I'm going to connect it to the account ID. And I can put my description in here. We can add a due date. I don't have a name or an ID that I'm going to associate this to because I didn't define all that in my platform event. This was our subject. Okay. Don't follow the way I created that, please. If you are new to Flow, that was totally done, not the best practice. So that was just done so we could do it quickly here. All right. And so this is going to be our order event is our object. This is a platform event, PE, create new task. And we'll hit save. Now, you probably will have a lot more complexity to this process with your flow. The key to the platform event is truly just defining the start element. From there, you can do anything you choose. We'll activate that. And I need to go deactivate a couple other flows that I've created. So I'm going to do that real quick. Oh, I do need to check one. No, I think we're good. Yeah, my entry, what I'm thinking about here is that I need the platform event to only trigger if it's in the ship status. And I did that on the record trigger flow. That was our entry criteria. So let's see how well this works. So I think we've got everything activated. Let's go to an order object. This is the part of the demo that you always like, did it work? Did it do what it was supposed to? We're going to find out on the fly. All right, so fulfillment is currently in processing. You see that up here as well. We're going to set it to shipped, and we're going to mark that as its fulfillment status. that piece there should have created a platform event record. And then the listener, if it did what it was supposed to, and this is where I'm going to cry if it didn't do it. I'm going to cry because I don't see a task here. In theory, you would have seen then a new task record show up here. Now I did something, obviously, I missed something in that process that failed to create our task. And I wonder if it is simply, if I didn't get it connected to the right account. Let's see if I have any tasks out here. And tasks. I don't even have any tasks. So it didn't create anything for me. Which means the trigger, this particular, the platform event triggered flow, it did not kick off for us. That looks good. Creating the task should have been, if I do that. Now you might think, well, Terry, just go to the event, the order event. Did we actually create a record? And that would be a great idea, because you might think, well, just go over to order event, but there is no such object that on the UI side you can go view like you would a normal object. So even you can't create a tab on that object or through the UI look at the records that was created, which kind of stinks from a troubleshooting standpoint. It'd be nice to be able to see that. So without going through debug logs and all of that process, I am probably not going to find this quickly as to why it didn't run.
Harry, if you weren't trying to do it quick, would there be is there a reporting option even though there's no tab?
Let's check. I don't think so. I think that was one of the things that they mentioned. Let's try order. Yeah, no order event shows here. Let's see if we can create a custom report type on it. Good question. I like how you're thinking.
They renamed it. It's just report type now.
Thank you.
It's tripped me up a time or two.
And we're in Classic, so that's helpful. All right, new report type. Primary.
I was kind of wondering, do you use Classic because that's what you learned initially?
No, I'm in Classic because from my flow, I hit the back arrow and it took me to Classic instead. Okay. So instead of going back to Lightning and then clicking into setup, I just stayed right where I was.
Okay.
Did you deploy your platform event?
Yeah, that's a good thought too. Let's check that one. You know, the beauty of working with you guys as a user group is you guys are all smart people. Platform event. I don't know that there was it's deployed. But I wonder if the fact that I have a trigger also on it, if it screwed things up. Let me delete that guy out of there just for fun. And so that's the platform event or the flow that we created. It is active. Interesting. I don't have an answer for you as to why that didn't work. I'll have to figure that out, and then maybe I'll update you in the community with what the story is on what I did wrong. But
where did you tell it that you were one of the listeners?
Yep. Good question. So the listener is also a flow. So we created two flows. We created and this is ignore this one and these two because those ones are my original test ones. I might actually try turning those on, see if it works over there. The creation of the task, or sorry, the listener is this platform event triggered flow. So that's the platform event trigger. That makes sense.
No. Where does it telling it that it's you?
That it really doesn't care who it is.
But so you had to subscribe?
This flow is actually what's subscribing to any new record that goes into that platform event object. And so as soon as a new record hits that platform event, this flow is then triggered and it will run the tasks.
Oh.
So
okay.
So this is the listener. If
it's the listener.
Yeah. If let's go with the idea that our soda machine is our publisher and it says, hey, I'm low on Diet Coke. It would have code that would connect to your Salesforce org, and it would create a record in that publish or that platform event. When that happens, this is the listener listening for the fact that, hey, there's a brand new record in platform events. Let's go do something. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. So how's that different? How's that different from a queue? Like when something comes, creating a queue.
Well, a queue is just a grouping of in essence, people that are going to get assigned to a queue. So queues you're assigning.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It is now.
Okay. So what's goofy, and maybe it's because I'm doing both of these on the Salesforce side. Maybe that's why it's not liking me. Because again, normally 1/2 of what we did is going to be on another system. Whether that's whatever is creating the platform event record, that's going to be the publisher. And then the subscribers or anything that is looking for new records in that platform event. That makes sense. Just for kicks and grins, let's try my original one, which I have a feeling it didn't work either, but let's try it for fun. We will deactivate this one. And got it on another screen. I'm going to activate it there.
Harry, we have a question about, is access to the platform event records controlled by guest user access? And my thought would be, I wouldn't think so, because they're not really like records in the traditional sense. It's more like an API integration.
Yeah, but they treat it in so much like a regular object, which I'm kind of curious too. Oh, I hate this interface. All right, so order event. Yeah, I don't see it as an object here. So
my developer gut tells me you could probably get to it in a SOQL query, but you probably can't get to it from the UI.
Yes, 100% you are accurate on that. Yeah.
So if you really want to look at them, friends, that means you get to learn SOQL if you don't already know it.
Yes, and if that's something that you're interested in learning, we could do a session on SOQL. because it's not as hard. Is it code-ish? Yeah, it's a little bit like code, but it's not difficult. It's just there's components that make up a SQL statement, and it's really pretty easy to follow and understand it. And then you can simply go into like Workbench or something like that, the developer console, and query it.
I was just going to say the Workbench might be a great thing to just cover in general and have SQL as part of that.
Yeah, good thought.
And there's so many tools. Like I use a Salesforce Inspector that also basically is a query builder for you. Lots of things that if you don't know it, will help you build it.
That or VS Code extension for SQL building. That's an insane tool.
Yes. Yeah. True. Yeah, getting VS Code and everything configured though can be a challenge for some.
That's probably more of a good developer topic.
Yeah.
So I just tried this to query the platform event in our org.
Who's talking?
And it says it's Tanner.
That's Tanner.
Tanner. Yep. Perfect.
Yeah, and I couldn't do it. I use Jetstream, which is like a newer API or a newer version of Workbench to make my SQL queries. And then I Googled it. Can you use SQL to query platform events? And it says you cannot query platform events through SQL.
I saw something related to that. They talked to that in.
There's got to be a way to monitor them, though.
Yeah, I was pretty sure they talked about that either in here or in that Mind Magic site. And I don't. And maybe it wasn't through SQL, but there was a way to identify it.
I believe the Workbench has capabilities to subscribe to some of those events too, so you can see them come in.
Chris? Awesome. Yeah, it would have been smart of me to have verified that this was doing what we wanted prior to our meeting.
Is it worthwhile?
You have to query the platform event usage metric object. And that's what will tell you if they've been created.
Platform event. So that's a different object?
Yes, it's a different object.
Well, that makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be?
What's the object name?
Platform event usage metric.
Is it one word?
Yeah, I'll drop it in the Zoom chat.
Usage metric. Like that?
Well, you spelled metric wrong. Platform.
I did, didn't I?
Oh, nice.
I think that looks right.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if it.
Yeah, so we have 8 rows. So I have tried this a few times. It's interesting that only one showed up here though when I did the 8 total rows and we saved the record. That's fun.
Even if there's a sample SQL query in the documentation.
Is there?
There is. I just dropped it in the Zoom chat.
Where's my controls? Okay, chat, where did you go? There you go. Thank you, Clarissa.
Mm-hmm.
Paste that in. Start date is, let's update that to today.
You need to change the year too.
Oh, that's
maybe remove the where clause.
Yeah.
Huh.
0.
Well, that's just their SQL query.
Hang on. I did that.
Oh, because there's an and.
Where clause.
Right.
There we go.
There's
our
sense.
8 records. Published. Okay, so we had some from earlier, and then we had the ones that we just did. So, and the ones I probably was playing with earlier today. I'm kind of curious what the value means. Does your little help article explain value?
I believe value is a count.
Change events published.
Here, you know what? How about I also share the help article so that it's not just me looking at this? That would be smart. There's the help article.
Okay.
So it does say that platform events published is the number of platform events published. Platform events delivered would be the number of platform events delivered to a subscriber. And then there's change events published, which would be the change data capture event. And then change event delivered would be the delivery of that change event.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to activate our flows. Let's try it again and see if our numbers here change, just out of curiosity. So back to our order, and we'll move it out of shipped and move it back to shipped. That should have triggered it. We are 843. Yeah, okay.
I might hit refresh grid. Just
refresh. Okay, that tells me then that if this does what we're thinking, then we're not getting the record created in our event publisher object. Yeah. So the flow that's failing we're not doing what we think it should do.
Something with the record triggered flow, probably.
Is in the right. Yeah, it would have to be the record trigger. I was just looking to see if I had any error messages.
Surprise, you will also get some debugging experience in this session. So
yeah, the bonus.
It does make me feel a lot better, to be honest with you, because sometimes I wrestle with things for an insane amount of time. So it's nice to know that even the professionals have trouble once in a while.
Yeah. So here's the error message: unable to perform the action because only one can be executed on a feed element. Only one action. Oh, I think that's because I have.
Oh, is it because you have two flows?
I didn't disable the one.
And for the record, I will just let you all know that, as I told someone a couple weeks ago, the day I have a deployment go off without a hitch and 0 bugs coming out is the day I will die of shock. So yes, everyone, despite years of experience, is not perfect. And there's always something that goes wrong. All right, now let's see if that eliminates that error message. So let's try again. This is totally a lack of me having time to fully test this and vet it before demoing it, because I just expected it to do what it was supposed to do. So this is Terry's on-the-fly demo that failed. All right, so I don't see that I received an error message that time. Let's refresh this and see if anything changed. I didn't notice a change. I didn't see one either. Yeah. Well, darn.
Do we check the account just in case?
Oh, yeah. Sure. I was just about to say, platform events are really, really cool.
When they work.
We just have to figure out what we're missing. Yeah, let's go back to our account. Oh, look. They did work. Boom. Look at that. There's my task. I do have one of my clients is using this. They're using it with credit card processing. So if you have the credit card processor is on another system, of course, that's not the capture of the information or the initiation of the process. It happens within Salesforce. So we create the platform event in Salesforce. And then the credit card system is listening for that platform event, picks it up, processes the card, And then that system is then publishing an event that says whether or not the card succeeded or failed. And then so on the Salesforce side, we then subscribe to their system and pull back the information all into Salesforce. So it's kind of an interesting, it's in one scenario, we are the publisher that says, hey, we need to capture a card, and here's the record that it belongs to. They do their thing on the credit card side, and then they publish the success or failure. We listen to it on the Salesforce side and pull the data back in. And super cool scenario. It's a perfect example of where you might use something like this. Everybody ready to go build one? It's much easier probably than you expected, other than the fun troubleshooting mess we had. Any questions on that? We've got just a couple minutes if you do. And thank you to everybody for your help on assist on the troubleshooting. That was cool.
All right. We do have a question. Is there a lot of upkeep or overhead for an administrator to maintain these types of flows, especially with major releases?
Oh, and I'd like to give context. Like flows for me has changed a lot, and the release updates do impact, I guess, new features or Lightning UI and things that look nice. Yep. So would there be like significant changes to these sort of flows or impacts for the releases?
If there are, it would probably be to enhance it. What I see as from an integration standpoint, architecturally, I see more and more things going this direction, primarily because of the simplicity of the integration. You're literally going in and treating the information that's being passed and forth like it's its own object. You don't have to go into code and update what we would call the payload that gets sent between through the API. It's all point and click this way. So my thought there is that it's actually easier. And there's some nice benefits too, from the standpoint that the event stays out there. It's transmitting for at least 24 hours before it goes away. With an API connection, if you have a failure of any type, it's, unless you're trapping for that failure and reacting to it, it's a one shot. And if it succeeds, great. If it doesn't, you hope you have good air trapping capabilities there to monitor it. So I like this model personally for that very reason.
Okay, I appreciate it. And also, like, I didn't do the Trailhead module, so I like that you did the demo. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a really easy one too. And granted, again, the Trailhead, and I don't know why they did it, but it's done using code. But they will hit on the fact that you can do it with Flow, but they kind of just scratch the surface. So now you all are integration experts. You can go build your own integrations and not have to call up your developer friends. Is that not cool?
That you have so much confidence in us, Terry. It's amazing. Good to have developer friends too, though. It's okay.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because they're going to have to write one half of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Very good. All right. If you have any questions or we can do anything for you, feel free to reach out at any point. We are here to help you. So thank you all for joining, and we will hopefully see you next month.